What do you know about the Holocaust?
The Holocaust is when about 6 million Jews got discriminated against, and or more than 6 million, but 6 million died, and it was really, really sad, and we should never repeat it ever again.
I know that Hitler led a mass genocide of killing all the Jews to purify the German race.
I know that it took place during World War II, and it was a tragedy to everyone.
I know that it was in 1940s and it was really, really bad. And it was mainly killing and like executing the Jews because Hitler thought they were a race, but it was also other people like homosexuals and blacks and like Jehovah's Witnesses and Mormons, but mainly Jews because Hitler had a thing against them.
I know that it happened around 1944 and millions of Jews died when they didn't have to. And there were many heroes.
For the other teachers and I has been to make sure that students understand that there's a reason we need to remember the Holocaust, and the biggest reason to remember it is so that it doesn't happen again. And if we don't teach students about it, no one else will. And if we don't teach you, those survivors are dying, and the next generation will not have the opportunity to see those survivors and firsthand experiences and the rescuers. And if I don't teach my students about it, they won't have the opportunity to teach their students or their children about it. So I feel the most important piece about the Holocaust learning is that why should we remember it, and why should we never forget it?
It has to be taught about the Holocaust is the fact that something like that could happen today. And it is happening today. And if we use our imaginations and make it real and try to empathize with what was going on, like if you try to imagine if this was my family, if this was my country, it makes it more real for students. And so I think that not thinking of it in terms of this is a history lesson, but this is a really scary thing that can happen today.
I think that those people are suffering from ignorance, and I think that the proof is out there and the evidence is phenomenal that if they're in denial, they haven't done their research and they haven't sought out the truth, and they're in denial and they're rather
sadly don't believe that it actually happened. And I think it's because it was so ugly and scary. Like I told you guys in class, it's what really happened is worse than any horror movie you can imagine. Mm-hmm. And I think that's really hard for us to deal with, to imagine how could a person be capable of hurting another person that way. You know, these people would go and murder the Jews and do experiments on them and torture them, and then they would go home to their families and they'd go home and put their kids to bed. That's really messed up, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you have to think that that the people that were doing this had lives, and I think that's terrifying. You know, they weren't these monsters, that they're real people. And so I think that's what makes it scary and people want to deny it.
I think the only way that we can ever stop genocides from occurring in our country or in other countries around the world is to make sure that young people know that this stuff occurs and that this stuff is out there, and that it starts with little things. It doesn't start out with huge things. Concentration camps and genocides don't happen overnight. They happen with little things like taking away your right to freedoms. It happens with those little tiny hatreds that this person is different than I am, that person is different than I am. So I'm right, they're wrong, my way is the only way, their way is the ugly way. And those little tiny prejudices and those little tiny hatreds lead to bigger things and huge things and gigantic things and overwhelming things. So we can stop those little things every single day. We don't have to tolerate little injustices. We don't have to tolerate hatred. We can counteract that, and by counteracting those little things, we can counteract those big things or stop those.
I can't even imagine what 6 million people looks like. 6 million people, at least. We don't even have an accurate count, but 6 million people died at least. And I have no concept of how many that is. I know that during the Armenian genocide, which the 99-year anniversary was yesterday, I'm not really sure how many died, but I want to say it was like in the 100,000 range, but I don't know. I can't even imagine if it could happen. I mean, I know that genocides do happen today, and I know, like, for example, in Rwanda, and there's different places where people have been targeted, but I don't know if social media would stop something this bad from happening. You know, many of the Germans and people of the world didn't know exactly what was happening in the concentration camps at the time, and I think that with Twitter and with everybody taking a picture of everything at any moment and texting it, I would hope to think that our technology would stop some of, not stop it, but prevent it.
Die Völker wollen nicht mehr auf den Schlachtfeldern sterben, damit diese wurzellose internationale Rasse an den Gesetzen des Krieges verdient und ihre alte totalitäre Rasse verbringen.
Dachau, factory of horrors. Dachau, near München, one of the oldest of the Nazi prison camps. It is known that from 1941 to 1944, up to 30,000 people were entombed here at one time, and 30,000 were present when the Allies reached Dachau. The Nazis said it was a prison for political dissenters, habitual criminals, and religious enthusiasts.
So maybe we can prevent it.